feeling fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know I ain't stressed. Work hard but do less. That's why I'm the best. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Full gas now. Scala.
Cap 235.
Used to be a Dakar.
A thrill for those who go, a dream for those at home. That emblematic sentence remains ever so present in the spirits of all those in love with the Dakar Rally. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the presentation of the 2023 Dakar. Time has come to unveil the mysteries of the greatest rally raid in the world and present the brand new course of the 45th edition entirely in beautiful Saudi Arabia. David Castera, director of the Dakar, has just returned from the Middle East after weeks of designing the course. This is what they discovered and designed for the competitors of the 45th edition.
October 27th, 1522. Bells ring out in the distance and break the constant murmur of the early morning sea. The sails are up, the last of the crates have been loaded. We are finally ready for our great voyage. As the light from the lighthouse fades, the cries of the crowd mix with the sound of the waves breaking on the hull. The sea draws us in, guiding us to lands that are known, but where the unknown can arise at any time. In the evening, only the creaks of the boat bring us back to ourselves. Each sailor stares at the horizon, seeking to know what lies beyond the frontiers of our known world. Cartographers redraw the world. Our seemingly limitless lust for discovery makes our Earth more and more familiar. November 25th, 1522. We have seen the limits of our civilization fall. The captain ordered us to head due south, towards the empty quarter. December 3rd, 1522. On the bridge, the captain and his men try to master the impregnable by hastily sketching the outline of a route meant to save us from the whims of the ocean. The repeated pounding of the waves leads to its fair share of damage. Helping one another has become the crew's only lifeline to defend against all the adversity that befalls us. January 2nd, 1523. The stormy sea has given way to a flat expanse. At night, only the light of our torches pierces the darkness all around us. One sailor talks of aquatic beings slowly drawing closer to the ship, while another recounts the tale of an ancient expedition lost for eternity. There is no time even to surrender to madness, because reality soon catches hold of us again to unleash its hell. Our ship floats endlessly on. Where will it stop? January 3rd, 1523. When I wake up, all is debris and dust. Our captain decides to seek help from a ship that has remained far behind us. There is no longer any sun, just this fire to bring us warmth now. To sleep would be to condemn ourselves to drift for eternity, like this forgotten expedition. Who would have believed we would be saved from this madness? Our ship has set off again, carried by the surf, the winds, and our hope, both now rediscovered. The first birds fly overhead, suggesting the end of our odyssey is near. These final words complete our story. None of us will ever forget the achievements of this expedition, sailing from coast to coast through an ocean of sand.
The director of the Dakar, David Castera, has joined us. Hello, David. Dakar 2023 is ready, and the future of the rally is also taking shape. And that's what we're going to start with. Yes, we'll start with that because over the last 2 years, we've started a process of transforming the Dakar's energy use. We are lowering our emissions every year. Our first target is 2026, when all of the top competitors will be in low-emission vehicles. To achieve that, we'll use different solutions, including new sustainable fuels, which will help us to reduce CO2 emissions by over 80%. Those rules will apply to all of the Dakar vehicles in 2030. And even before that, we're seeing different projects. We're delighted to have Audi with us with their hybrid vehicle using these new fuels. Other projects are being developed with electric and hydrogen-powered trucks using batteries or direct injection systems. So lots of projects are popping up and making their way to the Dakar. One of the projects you mentioned is that of Audi Sport, and we are joined now by the managing director of Audi Sport, Rolf Mitchell.
Le directeur général d'Audi Sport. Good morning and welcome to Paris, Rolf. Audi appeared on the Dakar last year. It was a first experience. Can you talk to us about the project and why the Dakar?
Well, for us, of course, Dakar is one of the toughest races in the world. And, you know, coming from motorsports, we're always a future lab. So we are the guys that test latest technologies under hardest conditions. And what better possibility than test it in Dakar?
4 stage wins. Matthias Ekström in the top 10. That's a massive satisfaction.
Definitely, because it was a future project, and taking 3 electric engines, one of them acting as an energy converter, and putting it into this prototype car. So therefore, for us, it was quite a success to reach the finish line, also to achieve some stage wins. But you need more experience, you need to go in the details, and this is what we did.
The question is obvious. What is the objective for the Dakar to come and the season to come?
Well, Audi Sport wouldn't compete in a race just to be part. So for us, achieving the podium is definitely the goal. And of course, you need that bit of luck.
And you have certainly 3 very hungry drivers in Stéphane Peterhansel, Carlos Sainz, and Matthias Ekström. Well, thank you very much to Rolf Mitchell of Audi Sport for coming to Paris. All the best for the Dakar and all the best for Audi's projects to come in the seasons and the years to come.
We now welcome 2 guests to talk about Dakar 2022 and the route for 23. The winner of last year's Dakar and newly crowned FIA World Rally Raid champion. Hello to Mathieu Baumel, the co-driver of Nasser Al-Attiyah, and a young woman who impressed on 2 wheels for many years before switching to cars last year, Laia Sanz. Welcome to Paris.
I'll
now turn to you, David Castera, to talk about the next Dakar, the 45th edition. What is the guiding philosophy of this edition, and what's on the menu in 2023? Well, as soon as Dakar 2022 finished, we had a lot of discussions with competitors, and they said to me, David, we want more difficulties, more dunes, and a longer rally. So that's the plan for this year, with 14 stages, longer specials, and a big finish in terms of dunes in the empty quarter. A lot of ingredients that will make the whole event more challenging. Let's now discover the route of Dakar 2023. So there you have it, the course of Dakar 2023. One prologue, 14 stages and one rest day. Yes, a 10-kilometre prologue that starts just behind the bivouac and finishes inside it. It goes along the Red Sea coast, so it's going to be very beautiful, with no real difficulty. The goal of the prologue is to determine the starting positions for stage one, so it's important. The fastest finishers will be able to choose their starting positions. It's very strategic because of the navigation on this first stage, so it's a key moment for the competitors. Well, let's talk about the first stage, a loop around the sea camp. A loop of around 360 kilometres, so it's already a decent length. We wanted the navigation to be simple to get everyone up and running. So there isn't too much navigation, but it features every kind of terrain, rocks at the beginning, sandy sections, and dunes to finish. It's a nice warm-up with elements that we're going to see throughout the rally. Mathieu Baumel, strategically the prologue is very important for the first stage. You have to find your rhythm straight away. Exactly, and that's why we train all year long, so we can start at full throttle. As David said, the prologue is always very important. The better you do, the better your starting position. You can make big gains or big losses from the first stage, so it's crucial to be well placed. Moving on to the second stage between the sea camp and Al Ula. Well, sea camp to Al Ula is a rather unusual stage because there is hardly any sand, and that's very rare on this Dakar. We'll be on stony tracks, quite narrow at times, so overtaking won't be easy. It's going to catch some people out. There will be dust and rocks, so the risk of punctures throughout the day. And it's a pretty long one, covering almost 400 kilometres, so things are already going to be tough for the competitors. The next day will be absolutely spectacular between Al Ula and Khael on stage 3. Yes, the first 50 kilometres will be absolutely magical, magnificent. But they'll have to be focused on the road book because we're going to start making the navigation harder with some really tricky sections. We know all about Saudi Arabia and its meandering tracks, so everyone will have to pay close attention. We'll be in the open desert, it'll be easy to overtake, it'll be fast, technical, with a bit of everything. A very nice stage of this Dakar. Mathieu, the navigation starts in earnest on this third stage. A bit of a nightmare for you, perhaps. What's it like to navigate in Saudi Arabia compared to, for example, South America or Africa? It's much harder because there are fewer visual cues and clearly marked tracks. There are many possible choices, and the roadbook only gives you the average direction with an average cap to follow. You often find yourself on a parallel track, which isn't necessarily the right one, and you have to constantly readjust. This sort of stage can be a co-driver's nightmare, but I have to admit that I enjoy it too. So it should be a good start to the rally. Behind us we can see your new car here, Laia. Let's talk about it. Last year you were driving a Mini, and now it's a two-wheel drive buggy made by Century. Tell us about this project.
For
me, the goal this year is to improve, to take a step forward. It's not easy to get hold of a T1 Plus, which is surely the best and most competitive kind of car at the Dakar. But this car is still a big step forward from last year. The driving style is very different, especially in the dunes. And that is perhaps what scares me the most. But I have to say, in testing, it has gone very well in the dunes. It's also a matter of changing my mentality and tackling them a bit differently. But I think we have a much more competitive package than last year. And yes, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very excited about driving this car, and I was pleasantly surprised when I tested it. We'll talk a bit about goals later. Back to you now, David, for stage 4, with mountains to climb around Jael. Yes, mountains of sand, so it won't be easy. We have been in this area before, but we're going in the other direction, and there are some big sand mountains to climb. It may take the riders and drivers time to find the right pass and get back on track. The first 100 kilometers aren't easy. There will then be some very nice sections in the middle of the special with lots of rocks and some navigation. We will round out with a much flatter and faster desert section, but again, it's a loop of 426 kilometers around Jael. Stage 5, the going gets tough on a second loop around Jael. Loop 2 is a bit shorter, 374k, but it's only sand, sand, sand. Not only dunes, but sandy tracks in the large sandy areas that surround Jael. We push on towards the south with the longest stage to Al Duwadimi. Yes, a long stage, over 850 kilometers in total, with 470 k's of special. There will be 2 distinct parts. The start is pretty fast over some big plateaus between the dunes, and the final part is much sandier with lots of dune crossings. It is going to be a long outing to Al Duwadimi. On stage 7, we stay in the area around Al Duwadimi. Yes, an even harder special. I would describe this one as very complete, with all types of terrain. We'll start in small canyons with stony tracks before hitting the dunes in the desert, then finishing with more stones. It's another loop, a very beautiful stage. At 473 kilometers, it's the longest special of the rally, and I really think the gaps will open up on this stage. An extremely long and demanding first week ends with stage 8 between Al Duwadimi and Riyadh. Yes, 8 stages before the rest day. Another stage here of more than 400 kilometers, 407 to be precise. The first part will be in sandy canyons with some very nice tracks at the start of the special, and then a slightly different finish. Broken terrain, very tricky. It's a bit like Morocco. So everybody is going to have to be very careful to make it safely through to the rest day in Riyadh. Laia, what's your objective for Dakar 2023? What would be a good result? It's not easy because the level in the cars is so high. But the goal is always to improve, of course. Last year I was 23rd, so I don't know. Maybe try to break into the top 15. I know it's very difficult, but I do feel like I've made a step up since last year, both in terms of my driving and the car. So we'll try our best. The Dakar is an adventure that's been going on for more than 45 years, but for the past 2 years, it has also paid tribute to the pioneers of the rally. I'm referring, of course, to the Dakar Classic. To talk about the Dakar Classic, we welcome Mathieu Abrial, who'll be driving a beauty from 1984, Philippe Vanberg's Citroën Visa. And also Adrian van Beveren, fourth on a Yamaha last year, and now with Honda. We'll be talking a little bit about that later on. So, Mathieu Abrial, tell us about this Citroën Visa that you'll be driving on the next Dakar Classic. Well, it's a car with a beautiful story. In 1984, it was on the Dakar. Yes, we're going to see some footage. It was entered by the Citroën team with their test driver at the time, Philippe Vanberg, and he drove the car to a brilliant sixth place. We're now seeing some great images of that rally here. And we wanted to recapture the spirit of that era, so we contacted Philippe Vanberg and Michel Perrin to get their input on the car that we were building. And by all accounts, it's a great vehicle. Was the Dakar a dream for you? Well, I'm not a professional driver, so it was very hard to compete at the required level for Dakar. But the Classic is a sort of compromise that allows less experienced people to get involved without taking huge risks. David, you must be happy to see a youngster taking part in Dakar Classic. Yes, because people say it's for the old folk, but it's not. It's for people who are passionate about the Dakar, about adventure, about mechanics as well. That's what this experience is all about. And we're very happy because we have a lot of vehicles, a lot of people who are coming to enjoy this adventure. We now welcome Sébastien Loeb, second at the last Dakar in his BMX Hunter, and Alexandre Giroux, the winner of Dakar 2022 in the quads, your first title. Sébastien, let's talk about 2022. You had an excellent rally with second place, but there was a little something missing. Yes, a little something missing. We had a small technical problem quite early in the rally, so we fell behind. And then we just kept plugging away behind Nasser and Mathieu, who did a fantastic job. They have a lot of experience and they had enough of a gap to race cleanly, which is exactly what they did. They didn't make any big mistakes throughout the rally. We worked hard and we finished second, which isn't bad. That is a good result, second in the Dakar, so we can't be too disappointed. But it looked like it was going to be a great battle. We kept pushing until the end, but it wasn't quite enough. Alexandre, it was 11 months ago. What are your memories of your first victory? Well, not many people can say they've won the Dakar, so I'm happy to have done it. I've got great memories of the battles along the way, resulting in my victory. It was huge. 11 months ago, but it feels like yesterday. It was cool. And an emotional victory as well. Absolutely. The Giroux name has become familiar on the Dakar, and it was really cool to win 25 years after my father managed to finish the Dakar also on a quad. It was a good comeback for me and a nice tribute for him. Before we talk about the rest of the route, Adrien, what are your thoughts on this first week? 8 stages and a prologue. That's a lot before the rest day. Well, I feel like this whole Dakar is going to be long and hard. There are more kilometres to cover, more stages, longer stages, so we'll have to be focused all the time. I think this Dakar is going to be about avoiding big mistakes rather than trying to go very, very fast. In the bikes, there are lots of guys who can win and the pace is super high. So you have to find the balance between going fast and avoiding those mistakes. And that's all that we're trying to do. We'll come back to the bikes later. David, we move on to the second week after the rest day in Riyadh. We're really getting into the heart of this Dakar. Exactly, we pick up where we left off with 439 kilometres on stage 9, which starts with rocky tracks and riverbeds. It will get a bit faster and we'll cross another erg as final preparation for heading into the empty quarter. And we'll be really going into the empty quarter on stage 10, heading to Shaiba. Yes, here we go. There's a long liaison, so it's going to be a very early start. The first bike will go at 3:30 a.m. In sporting terms, the road to the empty quarter isn't very interesting, so we've chosen to put in a long liaison. We start with a short special in the dunes, 120, 30 kilometres of sand, setting things up for the famous marathon stage, which will take us to the heart of the empty quarter. Mathieu Baumel, you had a taste of the empty quarter in 2020. Did it make an impression? Yeah, it's always something to enter a chain of dunes, whatever they're like and wherever you are. But it's true that we've been waiting a while for beautiful dunes like this on the Dakar in Saudi Arabia. We'll have 4 amazing days with real dunes, so we can't wait. This is what NASA dreams about at night. Sebastian Loeb, I don't know if you also dream about this at night, but what does the empty quarter mean for you, these 4 days with nothing but dunes?
Well,
I don't like that NASA is dreaming about it at night at first. But driving in the dunes is extraordinary with the cars that we have today. It's fantastic. I think that, like Adrien said, the whole Dakar is going to be tough. We've got long stages, and in the dunes they feel even longer because you have to be so focused. And you're obviously not going as fast. So we'll have some long days. We'll have a lot of fun, but it's not going to be easy. We'll have to be very focused, avoid mistakes, try not to get stuck. It'll be tough. The marathon stage returns. David, it's a Dakar tradition. So let's move on to stages 11 and 12, starting with 11. Stage 11 is the biggest day in the empty quarter, 280 kilometres of pure dunes. And just to explain what it's like in the empty quarter, there are chains of dunes separated by small chots, salt lakes, and they're surrounded themselves by dunes. So we'll be going from chot to chot, crossing the dunes all day long. Some dune sections are 10 kilometres, others are shorter. It varies all the time. It'll be a long day because the average speeds won't be high. Instead of going at 70, 80, 90, it'll be more like going at 40 to 60 max. So a much longer day to reach the marathon bivouac, which is quite old school. It's back to basics with just a camp to eat and rest. Everybody will be sleeping in their own tent before returning to Shaiba the next day. Adrien van Beveren, how do you manage a marathon stage? But I'd say that I manage it a bit like any other stage. In Rally Raid, and especially the Dakar, it's so long that you always have to be focused, and even more so on a marathon stage. But when you're riding on sand, as we will be doing in this year's marathon stage, you don't need to manage the tyres so much or the way you attack. When you have a marathon stage on rocky tracks, 2 stages without changing the tyres, then you have to manage more. So I think we'll be able to approach this year's marathon stage a bit like a normal stage, except at the finish. The main thing is to avoid crashing and damaging the bike, because we know we don't have any spare parts. It's easy enough to damage a roadbook tower and then pay a heavy price for it. Alexandre, you also have to think about your tyres in the quads. Are you afraid of marathon stages? No, not really. As Adrien said, you have to stay focused. A fall can have major consequences. But personally, I'm looking forward to it. I did my first 2 Dakars without a mechanic, so it brings back good memories. But you have to manage. It's not easy in the quads because it's always a very close battle, like in the bikes. The fight is always on, even in marathon stages. You have to be able to ride with your head, especially on days like this. David, the next stage, round 2, heading back to Shaiba. Yes, with lots more dunes on the menu. It's around 100 kilometres shorter, with more or less the same profile. But it's different, though, because there are some big dune descents from the previous day that we're not going to be able to climb. The landscape will be different because we'll be going in the opposite direction. The riders and drivers have to get back to Shaiba to finish this marathon stage. The next day will be the potentially decisive 13th stage between Shaiba and Al Hafuf. The liaison comes after the special to keep the action close to the dunes, around 150k in the dunes before a long road section to Al Hafuf, which is close to Dammam.
Et enfin, la dernière étape.
And then the final stage of Dakar 2023 between Al Hafuf and Dammam on the Persian Gulf.
Voilà, une coast to coast.
Yes, our coast-to-coast Dakar ends with a very simple stage, a beautiful one along the seaside. No real difficulty, so completing the stage should be a formality. And finishing by the sea is a throwback to finishes on the shores of the Pink Lake. It's a nod to Dakar history. It's a beautiful spot for the finish, and then the podium ceremony to celebrate all our heroes. Sebastian Loeb, what do you make of this tough route? 14 stages, a prologue and a marathon stage.
Well,
if I've understood correctly, we no longer have the neutralisation, is that right? So we'll be doing the specials in one go, and that changes quite a lot because we don't have information in the car. Before, in the neutral zone, you could see if you were in front or behind, and you could kind of adjust your pace for the second part of the stage. Now we'll be driving 400, 500 kilometres without any information. So you've got to keep your concentration for 4 or 5 hours because there's no time to rest. And you've got no info about how the race is going. So finding the right pace is going to be tough. It's 14 stages, it's very long, a proper endurance rally. We'll need to find the right pace to make it to the finish with as few mistakes as possible. And what do you still need to beat Nasser Al-Attiyah? Not much, we have the pace. Nasser and Mathieu are very strong because they're a complete crew. They've been working together for years, they know each other inside out. Nasser was born in the desert, he has a huge amount of experience in rally raid, and so does Mathieu. I don't have that experience. I do have the necessary pace to compete with them. But we sometimes make little mistakes here and there. It's hard to match their consistency on such long rallies. David Castera, can you give us some key figures of this Dakar 2023 route? 14 stages, as we've seen, lots of specials of over 400 kilometres for a total of almost 5,000 competitive kilometres. It's been a long time since we covered that much ground, 4,704 exactly. So endurance is going to be key. There are some great stages, and it's going to be a tough rally. Let's talk about the competitors of this 45th edition as we welcome Charles Kuipers, head of the competitors department, and Matthias Ekstrom, who drives for Audi.
Welcome to Paris, Matthias. First of all, are you loving it? Because you come from a different environment. Are you loving the Dakar?
Yeah, the picture behind you, I think, is one of the things that we all love. Especially me, who haven't been here so long, to learn to drive in the dunes, to be in the sandy tracks, and also the challenge with difficult navigation. I know some drivers think that the navigation is sometimes too difficult, but I also start to enjoy that this sport is a lot more than only driving. You have to use your brain, you have to sometimes be calm, smart. Someday you have to be pushing a lot, it's very simple road. So the mixture of it all, I think it was what makes this sport so unique. And once I start to understand, I also see the challenge, and you also have to be very humble and see you have to collect the experience to be a, regular front runner.
Charles Kuipers, a few figures to start with on the number of entrants for this 45th edition. 465 vehicles will be competing in this new coast-to-coast edition. Over 370 will take part in the Dakar, with just under 100 in Dakar Classic. We have 855 riders, drivers and co-drivers from 54 countries. Like last year, the three most represented nations are France, Spain and the Netherlands. We have around 100 legends who have done more than 10 Dakars. And this year, 170 rookies will be discovering the Dakar for the first time. Finally, there will be 21 women, including 4 all-female crews. We're going to start with the bikes, and these are the riders in contention for overall victory.
6 factory teams, 5 former Dakar champions. The battle on 2 wheels promises to be spectacular once again. Recently crowned World Rally Raid champion Sam Sunderland will be defending the Dakar title he conquered with his Gas. His main rival could well be his promising teammate, Australia's Daniel Sanders. KTM Factory Racing lines up a squad of former Dakar winners: Kevin Benavides, Toby Price and Matthias Wagner. 4 crowns between the 3 of them. Team Honda wants revenge. After 2 consecutive wins, the Japanese brand lost the title. A newcomer in the team, Adrien van Beveren, dreams of a first success. He'll be riding alongside Ricky Brayback, Pablo Quintanilla and Juan Ignacio Cornejo. Also on a Honda, but in his own structure, Joan Barreda returns with the goal to reach the podium at last. With Argentina's Luciano Benavides and USA's Skyler House, Husqvarna hopes to conquer stages and, why not, a spot on the final podium. Cherco carries on growing. The French squad will again be counting on the experience of Lorenzo Santolino and the speed of Rui Gonçalves. Indian factory team Hero has high ambitions. The Kalahari Ferrari Ross Branch joins the team alongside experienced Joaquim Rodriguez and Franco Caimi, the goal to at least enter the top 10. Finally, all eyes will be on the young guns from Team Bass Dakar and especially Mason Klein, best rookie last year when he finished 9th of his first Dakar.
Adrien van Beveren, you've changed teams this year. Tell us about your decision to join Honda.
Écoutez, c'est vrai que on a fait déjà un super.
I had a great run with Yamaha. I was there for 14 years. They brought me into Rally Raid and they helped me to discover this discipline. But now I'm really happy to be riding on this bike with this team. Honda is 100% a factory team. They start with a blank page and they develop a bike that is purely for Rally Raid.
Je vous avoue que c'est en tant que pilote aussi.
As a rider, getting a chance to join HRC is really special, so I'm very happy. It's a new challenge. I feel a bit like a junior again. And I'm really enjoying myself on this bike. I find it stable, efficient. From my very first minutes on the bike, I adapted to it very quickly. A first podium finish would be a very nice step in my life and my career. Now we move on to the T3 and T4 categories, the lightweight vehicles which are going from strength to strength.
The battle continues in the lightweight vehicles, the T3 and T4 classes. 2-time winner of the T3 class, the prototype Chaleco Lopez is going for the treble in his Can-Am. The recent W2RC champion has a new teammate and rival in Cristina Gutierrez, 3rd last year. Impressive when it came to stages, the Red Bull Off-Road Junior Team USA wants the big crown now. The squad lines up wonder kid Seth Quintero, but also last year's T4 champion Austin Jones. New colours for Guillaume de Mévius, 4th of the W2RC World Championship and winner of a first stage last year. He's hungry for more. On his rocky paths and in his dunes, Saleh Al Saif has home advantage. The Saudi wants to hit back after retiring from the previous edition. In the T4 class, there will be a new champion. Recently crowned FIA T4 World Champion Rokas Basiuska seems to be the man to beat. In his factory Can-Am, the Lithuanian who finished 3rd last year wants to better his performance. The South Racing Can-Am team shows up with some strong contenders, including last year's runner-up Gerard Fares, but also Saudi's Yazir Saidan, now in T4, or Australia's Molly Taylor. And beware of the Goxal family. Marek finished 4th last year, just in front of Michal. They both want to reach the podium.
We are joined by the new World Rally Raid champion in the FIA T4 category. From Lithuania, hello to Rokas Basiuska. And also with us from his couch in California is Seth Quintero, winner of 12 stages at last year's Dakar in the T3s.
T3, hello Seth. and thanks for being with us for this Dakar presentation. What memories do you keep from the last edition in Saudi Arabia with so many stage victories?
Man, I mean, the last year was probably one of the most heartbreaking, rewarding years that I could have ever asked for. Winning every stage but one was amazing, but also definitely defeating. Just because getting that time penalty and not being able to win the overall, but obviously getting to that finish line on the final day, with going through most of the rally without not too many issues, and kind of having mostly a clean rally, getting to the finish line and seeing everybody there and seeing the whole team there and how happy they were. It's that means a lot more to me than a lot of these stage victories, is coming back to the bivouac and seeing how happy the team is or how proud I made them. So I think that's what's going to stick with me for a while.
The goal is to win the Dakar, to beat the likes of Chaleco Lopez or Austin Jones.
Yeah, exactly. We've broke a few records now, and I want to break the record to be the youngest to ever win this rally. I think that would be it's quite the feat, obviously, but I think it's very possible with what's going on behind me and the people that are backing me. So it's going to be a fun battle. Chaleco's always hard to beat because he's so consistent. Austin's super fast. He's also super consistent. So it's going to be a battle at the end, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, thank you very much to Seth Quintero from California. You can now return to bed. Thanks so much for being with us for this Dakar presentation. We're now going to turn to the T4 class and have a word with Rokas Basiuska. It was your first Dakar last January. Was it, first of all, a dream to compete at the Dakar as a Lithuanian? And we know that the Dakar is huge in Lithuania.
Yeah, since when I was 14, 15 years old, with father we watch on TV Dakar. And I said to him, one day we will come to Dakar because in Lithuania it's really popular Dakar. In the beginning was the plan, top 10 it will be incredible feeling, to first Dakar. But yeah, we managed quite okay, we fight for the points every time on the stage, and in the last days, we can see that we can fight for the podium. That was incredible, and first time, first podium, first rookie, and yes, I cannot imagine how I did, but better now than later.
And then you had a fantastic season, 2022 season, with a victory in the FIA T4 class. Another satisfaction for you to be regular.
The title is the world champion is important thing. And after Dakar, we see that we are in the good position, and then we decide to continue to drive. And Abu Dhabi we finished second, then Morocco first. And in the Andalusia was really tight, Marek and Jones, we had only 1 point between us. And yeah, we are world champion.
Now to one of the most prestigious classes, the cars, with a host of title contenders.
4 have already won the Dakar, half a dozen dream of a first title. Team Toyota Gazoo show up with the title holder Nasser Al Attiyah and his 4 Dakar crowns, as well as his recent FIA Rally Raid World Championship title. He'll be alongside 2009 winner Janil Davidier and promising Henk Latigan. Also driving the fast and consistent Hilux T1 Plus, Saudi's Yazid Al-Raji made it on the podium of the last Dakar. Eric Van Loon dreams of once again making it in the top 10. A year to learn, a second to conquer. Stéphane Péterancel and Carlos Sainz are aiming at another title, which would be Audi's first. Matthias Ekström could surprise the Dakar all-timers. For his 3rd year at VRX, Sébastien Loeb has never been so close to glory. A possible win to add to his 9 WRC titles. Winner of the last Morocco rally, Guerlain Chichrit, will be driving a Hunter prepared by ProDrive, a car to take him to the podium, or even better. The last victory of X-Raid was back in 2021. To once again put a Mini on the highest step of the podium, the squad will be counting on Poland's Kuba Przygoński, Argentina's Sebastian Halpern, or UAE's Khalid Al-Qasimi. Beware of the Century Racing factory team. In his 2-wheel drive buggy, Mathieu Serradori remains on a fine 7th spot. Baragwanath will be going for the top 10. Martin Prokop returns in his very powerful Ford. After a setback last year, the Czech driver wants to better his 6th place of 2016. And finally, the MD Rally team lines up 7 Optimus buggies, a perfect tool for Christian Lavieille and Pierre Lachaume to worry the big guns. In the T2 class for production vehicles, Japan's Akira Miura will again be aiming at the title. His main rival remains his French teammate Ronald Bassot.
Mathieu Baumel, you've been NASA Rally as co-driver for almost a decade now. What is NASA like inside the car and outside of it? NASA Rally is exactly like you've seen him on television. He's very generous, very kind, always friendly and smiling. And luckily for me, he's the same in the car during the rally. Whatever's happening, whether it's good or bad, we always manage to keep our calm and avoid stress, which helps us to work better, especially me with the navigation. So I'm very lucky.
Matthias Ekström, do you have the tool to win the Dakar as soon as year 2?
I think we have the car, the team, and for sure with Stefan and Carlos, also the experienced drivers to do so. And if I can have a couple of good days and stay out of trouble, maybe some days we can also show that we are fast. But to look for the overall picture for Audi, I think definitely we are much more ready this year compared to the first time. And also now the last testing we've done, you know, they asked me, what's your wishes? I said, I have no more wishes left. It's to go home and do my own preparation and then just wait for the Dakar to start. So just happy to wait for Christmas and then go there and let the race and show begin.
Sebastian Loeb, are you impressed by the Audi? You saw it at the last Dakar. It is an impressive car. Yeah, it's impressive. And the technology is pretty revolutionary. It's a bit surprising at first, but you soon realize that using an electric motor has benefits when it comes to driving the wheels. They always have torque, so they don't struggle to change gears in the soft sand. Their car has advantages on certain types of terrain. And I think with the strength of the Audi group, they've done a lot of work on reliability, so I'm a bit worried that the car is going to be reliable as well. Put all of that together and they are going to be major rivals. I just hope it's a fair fight. We're all using different technologies. I'd say theirs is better on the sand, but in faster sections we've got a good car too. I hope it'll be balanced, that we'll all be up there and we can have a nice battle with 5 or more cars. Finally, the truck class, and the situation has completely changed.
The truck race is wide open, not the slightest former winner. The crown is up for grabs. Fourth last year, Janus van Kasteren appears to be the race favourite in his Doroi Iveco truck, while his teammate, Victor Versteinen, is also in with a chance. In the same machine, but under different colours, the Van den Brinks, father and son, Martin and Mitchell, will be among the top contenders. 11th of the last Dakar, Ben van der Laar and his brother Jan, sons of regretted Fried, can hope for a top 10 spot in their Iveco. Ever since his first Dakar, Martin Matchik has always had one objective: to conquer the crown. Second of the FIA T5 class at the World Rally Raid Championship, he has the tools to shine. Also from the Czech Republic, Alislo Price in his Praga truck hopes to hit back after a disappointing last Dakar. He has already made it 4 times in the top 5, including a podium back in 2007. Thomas Bratney had a fine W2RC campaign, finishing 3rd of the championship. Now the goal is to shine on the toughest of all rallies. Winner of the FIA T5 class at the World Rally Raid Championship, Kees Koelen will hope to better his 13th spot of the last Dakar. And there's no stopping Team Hino and Teruhito Sugawara. With their revolutionary hybrid truck, the Japanese are aiming at another top 10 finish.
We are joined now by the man who came 5th in the trucks at last year's Dakar, Janus van Kasteren of the Netherlands.
Hello, welcome to Paris, Janus. More than ever, you appear to be the favourites of the next Dakar?
Yes, I think after I finished after the 4 blue trucks last year, I'm one of the favourites, I think, yes, together with some other guys, of course.
And Yannis, the dream, I suppose, the goal, the dream is to win the Dakar.
Yes, it is. Since I was with the Mammoet team, the Renault team, I wish that I could win one stage. And after this year, I wish I can win the Dakar. And I'm maybe one of the favorites, together with my teammates. There are some Czech really good drivers. So yeah, that's my goal this year.
David, everything is almost ready for the next Dakar. There's just under a month to go until the start. Exactly. Another month to sort out the final details. I'd like to thank the federations with whom we work very closely, the governing bodies for cars and bikes, the FIA and the FIM, and the Saudi Arabian Motor Federation, SAMF, who've helped us to organise the rally, and of course all the Saudi authorities. So all that remains is to get ready for this Dakar. Thank you to all of you for following this press conference. We'll see you on December the 31st in Saudi Arabia for the prologue, followed on January the 1st by Stage 1 of Dakar 2023.
2023.
Ah!